What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Giants Chatter. It is episode 3 of this new San Francisco Giants baseball podcast. My name is Jesse Flora, and I am your host. First and foremost, just want to say welcome back. I know it's been a little minute. We started with 2 episodes, and I communicated that we're going to try to do twice a week in the offseason and then switch to 3 times a week once spring training kicks off. That's still the plan. Had to take a little break, unexpected, some sickness in the family, as well as just travels with the holidays. But the good news is not much has happened since we last talked, and I also haven't had the opportunity to really post this show out there online like I'm planning to. So hopefully we're going to do that this week and start to grow a following with this show. Again, the whole purpose of me starting the Giants Chatter podcast is because I'm a huge San Francisco Giants fan, and I've grown real tired of listening to very boring podcasts that don't really dive deep into what I care about as a fan, and they come from experts who really don't know what they're talking about, or it's just bad quality, or it's ill-informed, or they spend more time talking about music, or, we could go on. I could keep ranting. Anyway, I was searching for a Giants podcast that would be entertaining, captivating, one that I can listen to when I'm driving to work or back from work, where I could, my passions for my favorite baseball team, I could center those passions around a great show. I couldn't find that. If you like those other shows, that's awesome. That's great. And I still listen to them for information. But I wanted to create a show. Not that I'm claiming to be the perfect podcast host. I definitely am not. But I wanted to create a show where the fans were allowed to be fans. And we were allowed to be passionate and angry and frustrated and joyful about what is happening with our team. So that's the whole point behind it. I just rambled. I apologize. Anyway, on today's episode, we are getting back into the offseason. We're going to look at what I would think would be my dream offseason. If I'm going to lay out, if the Giants do the following, this will be an amazing offseason, my dream offseason. And then we're going to take a step back and we're going to look at what a realistic offseason might look like, unfortunately. And then we'll conclude the episode with another hot take from me, Jesse's hot take. Sometimes we'll conclude episodes with a blast from the past. We'll ask ChatGPT to give us a random Giants player from the early 2000s or the 90s, and we'll just reminisce on that player. But today I have a hot take for you, something that I have been frustrated about as of late. But anyway, we're going to get into all of this real quick. Our next episode, my plan is to kind of just take everything that's happened so far in the offseason, to update you on everything, to break down all the minor moves, maybe some of the coaching hires. But we're not going to do that in today's episode. We're going to jump right into what I think would be the dream offseason for the Giants. So, first and foremost, I, in our last episode, made a very passionate plea for the Giants to go out and get the big fish on the market. Go get Kyle Tucker. And the reason behind that is, if we as an organization, the Giants, who claim to want to compete with the Dodgers for the division, who claim to want to pursue a World Series every year, if you want to do that, you have to go out and get the big name. You have to get the big boys if you want to compete with the big boys. You can't expect to contend for the division every year with a constant rotation in right field or left field or second base even. I don't think, while I do like Drew Gilbert, and while I still have hope that Luis Matos can blossom into a good major league player, we have to address that there's a spot in the outfield that needs addressing. And part of the problem is Elliot Ramos, who I think is solid, didn't have that great of a year, and Jung-Hoo Lee has not lived up to the hype so far, as much as I also like Jung-Hoo Lee, and I think he's going to have a really good year this year. The Giants need another bat, another outfield piece to fit into their lineup, to deepen their lineup. Now, I don't think the lineup is the biggest issue on the team. I think starting pitching and pitching in general is the biggest area that is needed to be addressed with this team. But if you want to compete for the division with the Dodgers, go get Kyle Tucker. And I said this on the last episode. If the Giants don't get Kyle Tucker, I think he's going to be a Dodger. And that should frustrate you as a fan, as a Giants fan. What happened to the days when we were competing with the Dodgers, when we went toe-to-toe with the Dodgers? It's as if we're just like, yeah, whatever, go ahead, win 2 World Series in a row and maybe a third this year. we have to compete with the Dodgers. And that means you have to get the best of the best players. And so that includes Kyle Tucker. Now, there are some other teams, since I made that statement, I said if the Giants don't get Kyle Tucker, and then I added the Mets to the mix, or the Mets don't sign Kyle Tucker, the Dodgers will. I will say that maybe the Yankees or the Blue Jays have a potential. The Cubs maybe, because that's where he finished the year last year. I don't know if I buy that, but I could see the Yankees. It's the usual suspects. It's the big high money teams, the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Blue Jays. I doubt the Red Sox, but maybe the Red Sox. But there's a select few. But if I'm running the front office, which again, it's a good thing that I'm not, I'm going all in, and I'm signing Kyle Tucker. That's my number one move. If I was the GM, if I was baseball ops and I was in charge and the ownership said spend whatever money you want to spend, you're going to have to give him a 10-year, 11-year, 12-year contract, probably at least $40 million a year, which you might think is an overpay, but you know what? That's what you have to do in today's game to get some of these guys. You just have to overpay. And listen, if you are a fan, if you are a Giants fan, if you're watching this and you are part of ownership, I'm surprised you're watching this, but if you are a fan, there is no reason for you to say, oh, they shouldn't spend that money. It's not your money. It's not your money. They have plenty of money. You should be pushing, hoping, pleading with your team to spend the money because they have it. I mean, they're charging you $1 million to park. They're charging you $1,000 to eat a crab sandwich. They're charged, and I'm not complaining. I love going to the games. I would go every day if I could. But there's no reason as a fan that we should feel any need to say, oh, they should save their money here for down the. No, it's a bunch of nonsense. There's no cap. It's a luxury tax. They have the money. Spend the money. So go get Kyle Tucker, 10 years, $420 million. I don't know, $42 million a year. Do it. Put him in the middle of your lineup. Could you imagine a lineup that includes the middle of the order, Adames, Tucker, Devers, Chapman, and then you got pieces around that middle core with Elliot Ramos, Jung-Hoo Lee, and, fill in the blank with second base. Maybe it's Casey Schmidt, maybe it's Tyler Fitzgerald, maybe it's another name here on my dream offseason. All of a sudden, you've got a fantastic lineup. You've got guys who can no longer need to be the star because there's enough stars in the lineup that they can just focus on being role players. Guys like Jung-Hoo Lee, who I think maybe felt the pressure of I have to be the guy that comes in from Korea and be the star here. He doesn't have to worry about that because we would have Devers and two other left-handed bats with Devers and Tucker, and then you got Adames and Chapman in the middle. He could just be the role player, be the fast guy on the base paths, maybe hitting the bottom of the order or lead off if needed. And the fact that he hit third for a lot of the year was ridiculous to me. He should not be hitting third in the lineup. So go get Kyle Tucker. Immediately your team is 10 times better. Anyway, let's move on. Starting pitching. Starting pitching is a big need area for the Giants this year, and one that I hope they address. I think they're going to get 2 starting pitchers in the offseason. I think we'll talk about it in a little bit, but I think realistically it'll be one bigger name, if you will. I don't think they're going to be at the top of the list. I don't think they're going to go get somebody like Framber Valdez or maybe, someone like Ranger Suarez. But I think they're going to find somebody maybe who's trying to find a bounce back opportunity, who's looking for down the road that big contract. So I think they'll give a contract to one of the higher end, bigger name starting pitchers. But then I think they're going to have that, bottom of the rotation. We need innings from you. We don't expect you to be our ace, but we just need innings from you, who Justin Verlander was last year and could be again this year. So here's what I want them to do with starting pitching. I want them, my dream offseason is to move on from Justin Verlander, but I would not be opposed to them bringing him back. I thought he was great, especially the second half of the year. Move on from him, though. Go a little younger, go a little bit more upside. Go sign Zach Gallen and Michael King. Zach Gallen and Michael King to be your starting pitchers. That would mean your rotation would fill out to be Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, Zach Gallen, Michael King, Landon Roop as your 5. That's a if that's the Giants rotation going into the season, they automatically have a top 5, top 3 rotation in the league. Because I think someone like Zach Gallen, I would be thrilled. He's probably number 1 on my list besides Kyle Tucker as like the star that you could go get. Zach Gallen is probably my number 1 target for the Giants in this offseason because he is throughout his whole career, except for last year, he is a bona fide ace. has been for many years with the Diamondbacks. Let's just take a little trip back to the past. Let's go all the way back to, let's just start from the beginning. His rookie year in 2019, 2.81 ERA and 15 starts. 2020, obviously a shortened season, 12 starts, 2.75 ERA. Took a little dip in 2021 in 23 starts, the 4.3 ERA. But then in 2022, he had a run of 3 really great years. In 2022, in 31 starts, had a 2.54 ERA, and 34 starts in 2023 with a 3.47, and then 2024 and 28 starts with a 3.65. Has thrown in 2023 through 210 innings. Even last year, which was a down year for him, in 33 starts, pitched a full season, gave the Diamondbacks 192 innings, which matters so much. If the Giants have to deal with a full month again, as if this is something they've had to do every year now for the past 3, 4, 5 years. There would be 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a full month's worth of 1 or 2 bullpen games a week. That is not a recipe for success. It is not. It exposes your bullpen. It wears out your bullpen. It limits what you can do with your bullpen. And at the end of the year, if you're making a playoff push and your bullpen, all these guys have thrown way too much because they've been we've been doing bullpen games consistently, then your chances of making a deep playoff run are dwindling because you need a healthy, strong bullpen to make a deep run. So go get a guy like Zach Gallen, who more than likely is not going to pitch to a 4.83 ERA like he did last year. It was a down year for him. But he still threw 192 innings, still had 175 strikeouts, struck out 220 in 2023. This guy has finished as a Cy Young 9, a Cy Young 5, and a Cy Young 3. So you're taking a flyer on a guy who's likely going to be much better than he was last year, could be an incredible equivalent to someone like Logan Webb, similar stats from his career, honestly, as Logan Webb, someone who can go toe-to-toe with Webb and Ray at the top of the rotation, and you fit him into your 3, and you're going to get him at a discount. Now, I know that Dylan Cease got a big contract. Zach Gallen is not going to be getting a 7-year deal. He's not going to be getting a 6-year deal. He's not going to be getting a 5-year deal. I'd be surprised if it even gets to 4. I think you can get someone like Zach Gallen on a 3-year deal. You might have to include some opt-outs because Zach Gallen might be trying to reinvent his career. If he had finished this last season, which was his walk year, his free agent year, if he had finished with a 3.4 ERA, then he'd be getting a 7-8 year contract like Dylan Cease. But because last year was rough, you're going to be able to get him on a discount. So go get Zach Gallen, put him in the 3 spot in your rotation, and watch with the kind of ballpark that Oracle Park is. I just typed in Michael Gallen as I'm getting ready to talk about Michael King. But with the kind of ballpark that Oracle Park is, watch as someone like Zach Gallen, he could pitch to a 2.7 ERA. He could throw 200 plus innings for you and be another ace. The Giants could have 3 aces at the top of the rotation. And then if they go out and also get someone like Michael King, you could have 4, because Michael King is one of those guys who has been his whole career thought to have the potential to be a top of the rotation ace. And he has shown flashes of that, specifically in 2024 with the Padres after he was traded from the Yankees to the Padres. In 30 starts, he went 13-9 with a 2.95 ERA and 173 innings. Here's the big one. In 173 innings, he finished with 201 strikeouts. He's got nasty stuff. Now, with Michael King, there is some health dynamics here. Can he stay healthy? If he does, he has the ability to be one of the better pitchers in the league. So if you go out and get Zach Gallen, and you go out and get Michael King, who will probably require a similar contract to Gallen, possibly less. You could probably get away with less because he's had the injury problems and hasn't thrown, besides 2024, past 104 innings in one season. You can probably get him even cheaper than Zach Gallen. But you could have a rotation with Webb, who's going to finish top 5 in the Cy Young if he stays healthy. Ray, who had an incredible year that nobody talked about last year, coming back from Tommy John. Zach Gallen, who has the potential to also finish as a top 5 Cy Young. And then Michael King, who's a project. Hey, if you're healthy, you can also finish as a top 5 Cy Young. And then you go with Landon Roop, who showed flashes last year of being having high potential to be a very quality major league starter who could fit in the 3 and the 4 spot. You got him at your 5. And if there's an injury to one of those guys. You've got guys waiting in the wings. You've got Birdsong still developing. You got Wisenhunt, and the list goes on. If you go out, you know what? If the Giants only sign those 2 starting pitchers in the offseason this year, and that's all they do, I'll be happy. Because I think putting those 2 guys into your rotation immediately makes your team so much better. So much better. If the Giants had that rotation last year, they easily make the playoffs. And they easily go on a run. This team, as it sits now, is better than they finished last year. I believe that strongly. You add 2 high upside starting pitchers who have a proven track record. You can see a team outperform expectations for sure. We need to move on. I'm running long here. I'm very excited to be back. If I was in charge, my dream offseason, I also want to fill in the depth at second base. Now, the more I thought about this, the depth is actually pretty good. What they're missing is their starter. We don't know. Is it going to be Casey Schmidt? Is he ready? He showed some signs last year. If they roll out opening day and Casey Schmidt starting at second base, I'll be fine with it. Let's give him a chance. Same with even Tyler Fitzgerald. He had a lot of injury issues last year, and so his performance last year did not match the year before. But the year before, he looked like, hey, this is our second baseman. Well, at the time, our shortstop, but this is our second baseman for a long time. So if they roll out the starting lineup on opening day and it's Tyler Fitzgerald, I'll think, all right, let's see what he can do. I like his skill sets. He has legitimate pop for his frame, surprisingly. He's so fast. He's a above average defender. I'd be fine with it. So if they don't address second base, that's okay. I just think there's a middle infielder out there who would be a great piece to add to this team to strengthen the entire team. He can move around the infield, and it's Ha-Seong Kim. Good friends with Jung-Hoo Lee, both from Korea. The Giants should be cornering that Korea market. If the Dodgers are going to take over Japan's market, the Giants should be claiming the Korean market, and we should be where all the great Korean players want to come play. So go get Ha-Seong Kim, and immediately, if you sign someone like Ha-Seong Kim, your team becomes so much deeper. Then Casey Schmidt or Tyler Fitzgerald can be that depth, that confident depth, that depth that's solid and good that you need. I mean, look at the Dodgers. Mickey Rojas didn't play at all in the playoffs, and he hits the home run in the World Series to win the game. Him and Will Smith both hit home runs, but without that home run from Rojas, the Dodgers don't win the World Series. And he was a depth player. He was a role player. That's what the Giants, if they go get someone like Ha-Seong Kim, it allows Casey Schmidt to fill in when Chapman gets hurt or Adames gets hurt. It allows someone like Tyler Fitzgerald to be that super utility who could play the outfield, especially if you don't get someone like Kyle Tucker. You could platoon Drew Gilbert and Tyler Fitzgerald in the outfield. Tyler Fitzgerald can give Elliot Ramos days off. He can play center field. We've seen him play center field in the past. And he also gives you the speed off the bench. So signing someone like Ha-Seong Kim, who I don't think is going to be that expensive. He's coming off some injuries. He's coming off some down years. He can play maybe a better shortstop than Willy Adames when healthy. It would just make their defense one of the better defenses in the league. I would love to see Ha-Seong Kim wearing a Giants uniform if they choose to address the second base position. Now, the other area of need that in my dream offseason I think they need to address is the bullpen. I do think they've got some guys down there where they lack is the late inning bullpen guys. So I think I have 2 names that I think they need to go get. And this will shore up that back in the bullpen because they're not getting Randy Rodriguez back. All year I'm thinking we found our closer. Rodriguez is a star, and major injury, he's out next year as well. So we don't have a closer. Ryan Walker, I'm sorry, cannot be our closer this year. And so I want them to go out and get someone like Pete Fairbanks. Let me pull up his numbers here. Pete Fairbanks, you might not know him because he plays all the way in Tampa Bay with the Rays, but he's had a quality career as a reliever in the last few years as a closer. Last year, his age 31 season, made 61 appearances out of the pen, pitched to a 2.83 ERA, and 27 saves in 61 appearances. And then the year before had a 3.57 ERA with 23 saves, and the year before that, in 2023, had a 2.58 ERA with 25 saves. So not the flashy name, not the Edwin Diaz, not the big closer at the bat. Devin Williams went to the Yankees. I was hoping the Giants would try to get him. But you can get Fairbanks for a little bit cheaper. And he's going to be a guy who can pitch the 9th inning if you need him to. And I think with Randy Rodriguez hurt, if you sign Fairbanks, give him the 9th. Let him be your closer and see what he does. Immediately, that deepens your bullpen. Ryan Walker no longer has to be your 9th inning guy. And if they go out and do what I have next on my list, he doesn't even need to be your 8th inning guy. He can be a 6th inning, 7th inning guy. I envision Ryan Walker and Eric Miller tag teaming the 6th and the 7th, depending on if it's lefty heavy coming up or righty heavy coming up. You throw Walker out there in the 7th or the 6th, and if there's a bunch of righties, if there's a bunch of lefties, throw Eric Miller out there. But the other one is obvious. Bring back Tyler Rogers, please, for goodness sakes. Someone like that just guarantees that, hey, your 8th inning, your 7th inning, your 8th inning is covered. If you need him to throw a 9th, that's great. 81 games last year between the Giants and the Mets. And he finished with with the Giants, he had a 1.8 ERA, and he had a 2.3 ERA with the Mets, finished with a 1.98 ERA. He's as consistent as it comes. He just makes guys look foolish. There's weak contact constantly off the bat when guys face him. Bring him back. All of a sudden, with those 2 additions to the bullpen, we're looking at a solid bullpen. You got guys like Eric Miller and Ryan Walker, Joel Peguero, other names that are... The bullpen's always a hodgepodge, so you never know. They picked up the lefty, Sam Hentges, I think I pronounced his name right, who is coming off injury but has had some great stuff with the Guardians in years past. So the bullpen with those 2 additions can look pretty solid. I just wish we had Randy Rodriguez still. That's a bummer. And the last thing on my list for a dream offseason is we need to address the catcher position. Look, I love Patrick Bailey. I think Patrick Bailey is so undervalued. I think he is one of the best defensive catchers the game has seen in a long time. He just can't hit. He just can't hit. He's had his moments, and I've said this in a previous podcast where I've literally looked over to my wife watching the game. I said, they're not going to score here. Patrick Bailey's up to bat, and then he hits a walk-off home run, the inside the park home run or the 3-run home. So he's had his moments, and when he's hitting, he's one of the most valuable players in the league because of what his defense provides. But we need some more offensive production from the catcher position. There is a team that has a catcher who's for the most part had a really great career, had a down year last year. This team has gone ahead and invested an extension into another catcher, and rumor has it that this catcher, whom they used to be their prized possession, their prodigy, their future, is apparently up for grabs in the trade market, and his name is Adley Rutschman of the Baltimore Orioles. In my dream offseason, the Giants make one trade because I don't want them to get rid of all their prospects. They make one trade, and they go out and they get Adley Rutschman. I could be completely wrong. I don't think you need to give up a ton to get him because his value within the Orioles organization is not as high. They might not want to trade him because his value in the market is down compared to where it could be. But go get him. Let him and Bailey share the load at catcher. Maybe Rutschman catches 3 out of 5 starts and Bailey catches 2 out of 5. You could pair Bailey with Webb and Ray. Maybe, when you have your best pitchers going, pair the best defensive catcher with them. Sacrifice a little offense when you have your best pitchers going, but put Rutschman in the lineup when your bottom of your rotation is going, or mix and match based on splits and whatnot and stats against pitchers. But someone like Rutschman, he's going to be 28. He is a career in 4 seasons, 15 WAR player. Last year was his lowest with a 1.9 WAR. Before that, had a 3.4 WAR in 2024, 4.3 in 2023, and his rookie year, 5.4. He's not going to hit a ton of homers. He'll hit probably between 15 to 20. He only hit 9 last year. He only played 90 games last year. But he's just an all-around great player. He has the potential to be a 800 OPS guy. Now, that has been trending down. So what you're doing with this trade for Adley Rutschman is you're just taking a bet that this guy's going to bounce back, that he's still in his prime, and he's going to be a great player still, and you're hoping that you can get him on a discount from the Orioles. I don't know if that's likely. I would like to see it. I'm not satisfied unless Bailey comes out and hits the cover off the ball and he's figured something out in the offseason. I have my concerns about the catcher position if it's just Bailey and some other backups. So that's my dream offseason. Kyle Tucker, Zach Gallen, Michael King, Ha-Sung Kim, Tyler Rogers, Pete Fairbanks, and Adley Rutschman. That's 7 additions. I'm probably crazy. That you're probably shaking your head. But if the Giants did that, come on. That'd be amazing. It would require ownership to go into the luxury tax. And my message to ownership, nobody's listening. They don't care. Nobody even knows who I am. Who cares? Spend the money. Spend the money. Win some games. You'll make the money back. I promise you, you'll sell out every game. I will buy an extra crab sandwich just to help out. All right, spend the money. Now, let's look at what's realistic. What's realistic, in my opinion, is that they mainly address pitching. They go out and I think they still get 2 starting pitchers. Probably not the 2 that I mentioned. Hopefully one of the 2, and I'm going to list him on here. And then I think they get at least 1 relief pitcher besides the kind of depth, like, take a flyer, let's see what he can do, guys, like the Sam Hentges. I got to learn how to pronounce his name. And then I think they might fill in, I don't even have specific names for this, but guys who are more depth pieces, like they picked up Justin Dean off of waivers when the Dodgers waived him as a center fielder. They traded for Joey Weimer, who, can play center field, can play left field, was with the Marlins. Just kind of like, let's add some depth to our team. They might do more of that, and I'm not even going to try to predict that at all. But I think what is realistic is we see them get 2 starting pitchers. I do think it's realistic they pursue someone like Zach Gallen, and I do think it's realistic that they bring back Justin Verlander, and I don't know if I want them to do this, instead of Verlander, they go get the other 43-year-old Max Scherzer. I don't really know if it's realistic that they do that. All I know is that there's a relationship between Max Scherzer and Tony Vitello, so there's a chance that he's the fit there, and hey, fine. I'd be open to it. But if you're gonna have a 43-year-old in your rotation, might as well bring back the guy who proved to you last year that he could do it at a pretty high level, especially in the second half, and that was Justin Verlander. So I think they addressed the starting pitching with a couple of those options. Kind of a higher end guy in Zach Gallen, and then one of those 1-year $15 million contracts going to someone like Verlander or Max Scherzer or maybe a Chris Bassett. I think Bassett can get a longer deal. And then I do think it's very realistic that they get another relief pitcher with a little bit of a higher name, higher value. Tyler Rogers, I think he is the most realistic. I think he enjoyed his time in San Francisco, and this trading away Tyler Rogers and bringing him back, hopefully, this could be one of the best moves that this front office has made in a long time. If they just loan him out for a little bit, get a lot in return for him, and then just bring him back next year, I think you could. I think you could almost count on the Giants bringing Tyler Rogers back. I'd be bummed if they don't. I think he just makes perfect sense, but he might have a pretty good market. There might be some competition to sign him, so they might miss out on him. And then again, I think there's some depth pieces. I think they might address second base. It could be someone like Jorge Polanco. It could be, he'd be great. It could be Ha-Seong Kim. It could be lesser names that we're not thinking of. There's guys who are lower on that free agent list when you go look online for who's available. I do think they'll fill in some depth pieces. I think they could address the outfield with someone like Harrison Bader. I don't think, if they're not getting Kyle Tucker, I don't think they're going to get Cody Bellinger. I think they're going to go further down the market with someone like Harrison Bader, which I wouldn't be opposed to. So I don't know. I'm not expecting this crazy offseason. I hope my dream offseason comes true. What I am expecting is that they're going to address the need at the pitcher position, at starting pitching and relief pitching. And Zach Gallen is first on my list as someone who I really hope the Giants go and get. So realistic, Zach Gallen, Justin Verlander, Tyler Rogers, and then 1 or 2 more depth relief pitchers or middle infielders or outfielders. So we'll see what happens. All I know is we're here for it, and the Giants, I think, as they sit right now, are a good team. They need some pieces to push them over the edge to be a really good team, to be a playoff team. I think the lineup, if they don't address the lineup at all, I wouldn't be super bummed. I think their lineup is good as is. Not great, but good. I think the main area of need is starting pitching and relief pitching, and so hopefully they address the need with the arms there. So, hey, we're going to conclude our episode today with my hot take, Jesse's hot take. And this one, I don't intend to call people out, but I'm going to a little bit. My hot take is this. At this time of the year, most reports that you read are garbage. Garbage. They're garbage. So, Giants are in on Kyle Schwarber. No, they're not. No, they're not. And maybe I'm gonna eat my own words here. Is that a phrase? Did that sound really weird? I apologize if that was weird. But I don't think they are. That makes no sense. You've got Rafael Devers, who's a first base DH. You got Bryce Eldridge, first base DH. You don't have room for 3. Might as well bring Wilmer back at that point. No, Schwarber's way better. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't, if they do it, I'd be like, all right, I'm here for it. 56 home runs going in the lineup. That's great. How is that going to translate to Oracle Park? It's not. He doesn't want to come to San Francisco. He's a left-handed power bat. He's not coming to San Francisco on his own volition. Giants had to trade for Devers. Okay, they're not going to go out and sign Kyle Schwarber. He's going to want to go to somewhere like Cincy, back to Philly, somewhere where he could hit a ton of home runs. So that report, garbage. The whole report about the Giants not being in on starting, that's speculation, Buster Olney. I'm sorry. That report is nonsense. It's speculation. The Giants could be trying to not get the market all stirred up so that they just become what they've been in the past, a bargaining chip. Oh, look, the Giants are in, so you better up your price, Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge to the Yankees. I'm playing the Giants. I'm making the Giants feel like I actually want to be on their team, but I don't, so the Yankees give me more money. The Giants don't want to be that team anymore. And so this report that they're not in on high-end starting pitching, They might be. We don't know. That's the whole point. We do not know. We don't know. And that's fine. And it's okay to get excited and get your hopes up. What's not okay and what frustrates me is these reporters who write these articles and they are experts. Do you know how often they're wrong? Do you know how often Andrew Baggarly is wrong? Do you know how often Alex Pavlovich is wrong? Both of these guys do great reporting, but do you know how often they are wrong? Most of the time, they're wrong. They don't know. They're not in the front office listening to these guys talk about potential targets. They are being told these phrases and statements from ownership and from the front office, and they're not getting the whole story. It's speculative. So, here's what I want to say. The Giants they have the money to get anyone on the market they want to get. They could. If Buster Posey goes to ownership, which he is a part of, just like he did with the Devers trade and says, I want this guy, and he can convince everyone else in ownership, they'll go get that guy. If it's Imei, however you pronounce his name, from Japan, the starting pitcher, who has said he doesn't want to be on the Dodgers, if it's him, they'll do it. Just because Andrew Baggarly says they're not going to pursue higher-end, longer-term starting pitching contracts doesn't mean that's true. I'm getting fired up. You probably don't care as much as I do. Sometimes it seems like the Giants reporters, the beat reporters, want every story to be pessimistic. Every single story they released is negative and pessimistic about the Giants and the future. And my goodness, the Giants are one of the wealthiest teams in baseball. They should be spending the money, and they can spend the money, and they have. They have. Devers, Adames, Chapman, Lee. They'll do it again. They have about $100 million, 90 maybe, $100 million in space before they get to the luxury tax. They're going to spend the money this offseason. I don't know exactly how, but they're going to spend the money, and they're not out on anybody, and they're definitely, I could be wrong, but they're definitely not in on Kyle Schwarber. It just makes no sense. There's absolutely no fit for him on the roster unless you're trading Bryce Eldridge, which that would be crazy and not could happen. You never know. Anyway, my hot take is sometimes you should ignore the beat writers. They don't know what they're talking about all the time, and they get paid to write these articles, and they have to come up with stories somehow, and so they take one quote from Zach Manassian or one quote from Buster Posey or one quote from Greg Johnson, and they say, well, the Giants are out. The Giants are out on any contract above 6 years. They don't know. They don't know. So be a fan. Root for them. Hope they go get the guy. Hope they go get Kyle Tucker and sign him to a 10-year deal. Hope they go out and get the guy out of Japan. Imei. I got to learn how to pronounce his name right. Imei. Hopefully they go out and get him. Root for that. Give him 8 years. Yeah, come on. It's okay to be a fan. You don't have to let Andrew Baggarly and Alex Pavlovich and the others tell you how to be a fan. Anyway, I'm probably, if they hear this, they're going to get mad at me. They're going to think, who's this nobody? That's fine. That's it for today's episode of Giants Chatter. I got a little more fired up than expected. I just love my team, man, and I can't wait for Giants season. It's that time of year where I usually put on the World Series films, 2010, 12, and 14, just to reminisce because I miss baseball. It's that time of year where I log into my MLB account and watch a random game from April of last year or May of last year just to feel it again, just to hear the bat, the sound of the bat, the pop of the glove. I miss it. So I love talking about it. We'll see you in the next episode next week. Thanks for listening. I encourage you, if you are listening or watching, like and subscribe. Again, we're going to try to grow this audience and not because I want to say, look how cool I am as a podcaster, but because I want to offer this as at least an alternative option to some of the other podcasts that I've grown tired of listening to. So anyway, you guys have a great day. I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. See ya.